Good afternoon. Well, I'm back. I got a surprise in the mail a little while back, about a week or so ago, and a fellow named John Williams from Tampa sent me this. It's a big old chunk of Brazilian cherry. It's about probably 10 inches long, 6 by 6, I think. Let's see, 5 by 5, and about 11 inches long, and it's heavy. It's heavy. It feels like concrete. But this is Brazilian cherry. So it's kind of a treat for me because I don't get to work with a whole lot of exotics. First of all, I don't buy it, or I never have bought it, and I only get, you know, what people may give me or whatever. But I'm going to see what this looks like. He sent me some pics of some projects that he's done with it, and they look really, really good. So we're going to give this a shot. And what I'm thinking of is maybe a lidded box. I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit though. I think I want maybe a 3 by 3 out of this, about 6-7 inches long. But we'll see what we get once I get to cutting. But that'll leave me with two good blanks here too. So I'm going to whack the end of it off, because I may end up doing some type of maybe another tri-corner box out of the other part of it or whatever. But that's what we're going to do, and I'm pretty excited to get started on this. I know that stuff's hard as a rock, so I'm going to make sure I get my tools sharpened up good. Let's get started on this thing. Salt this one away for another day. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to shake this on down. I'm going to get a 4 by 4 block out of it. I'll be back very shortly. There it is. Got my center marks. I went ahead and punched divots in there for my centers. I'm at 4 inches by 4 inches by 6 inches. And I'm going to start turning this thing down into a cylinder. I'm just going to be using my roughing gouge to do that. At least I think I am. That stuff is hard. I can tell it already. Alright, well, we've got her almost to a perfect cylinder. A few little flat spots left, but that's going to be just fine. What I'm going to do is start getting it ready to mount in the chuck now, so I'm going to put a tenon on here. I'm going to go about 3/8 inch. Put me a tenon. Then I've got to figure out how big I actually want the bowl, or the box. I've got 5.5 inches to deal with, so 5.5. Half of 5 is 2.5. 2. I'm going to say about 1 3/4 inches for the lid. So I have 3/8 for my tenon. I have about 1.5 inches for my lid, and then the rest of this will be the box. So am I doing that? Yeah, I'm doing that backwards. I can't do that. I need the lid to come off of this end. Right there, and the rest of that will be the box. Okay, now I've got it. Okay, so now I've got a 3/8 down here for my tenon, and I've got about 1.5 inches for the lid up there. Alright, I'll just use my fairly thin parting tool to make my mark. Not going to be able to see that. That's it right there, yep. Alright, well, now I just need to square it all off. I'm just going to use my skew to do that. Make sure I've got good shoulder. So I'm good and square now. So there's my tenon, and I almost made it too short. The screw on my vernier, whatever you call them, calipers, this thing right here was touching the side, and it didn't let it go in like I thought it would. But I'm right at 1 5/8 now, so I'm still good. Tenon chuck shouldn't have any problem. Should not have any problem tightening down on that. So take this out. Check this up. Make sure your chuck gets cleaned out good. And bring my tailstock up just to help make sure everything stays centered. Okay, there we go. Good pressure on the, I may have too much pressure. There we go. There we go, that's better. Yep, I'm perfect. Alright, okay, what I've got, I'm locked in my jaws now. I'm good, ready to go. I've got my box and I've got my lid here. So we're going to get started doing some shaping. I'm going to work on the lid first. Alright? I will be back in just a minute once I get some stuff going here. Okay, in order to save some wood, I decided to put a glue block down here where the lid is on the top of the lid. And all this glue block is going to do is form a tenon that I can turn the lid. Because sometimes you'll see people, they'll cut a tenon, or they'll cut the recess right here, and the tenon here, well, that means you got to flip the lid upside down in order for it to form the box. So, but I want it to look, I want to try to keep all this grain matched up as good as I can, and the best way I know to do that is to turn it from this end. So I went ahead and I put a glue block on here, and once it dries up, then I'll form my tenon, and that way I'll be able to go ahead and part the lid off the box. I can start turning either one. I'll probably start with the lid first, and then I'll size the box tenon to the lid. Alright, well, I'll be back in about 1.5 hours, maybe a couple hours, and let that glue set up good, and I'll be back later. Alright. Make sure it's square. Alright. Now I'm ready to part this off, and And all I'm going to do is I'm going to part of the way, and then I'm going to take it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. Okay, well, I'm going to take that over to the bandsaw and cut this off, and I will be back in just a minute. Okay, well, I've got this off the bandsaw now. I'm getting ready to start shaping the lid, and I'm going to work on the inside first. Now, I'm going to use a recess in the lid to accept the tenon that is on the box. Okay, so the box likes to have a tenon sticking up out of it, and the lid will sit down right on top of it. So that's, I'm going to start working on that now, getting about what I need to do. Alright, I'm just going to start kind of hollowing this out just a little. Put my recess right about here. I think that will look nice. And right about there is going to be my recess. I'm going to go ahead and set that in my skew because I'm going to be taking all this off as I go. Just using my spindle gouge. Just kind of hollowing out the top a little bit. Just want to hollow it out some. Alright, well, I've just been doing a little bit of hollowing in here. Just kind of roughing it out, and right now I just want to see how deep I've gone. I'm just going to use this little deal right here. Alright, make sure it's all the way in there. See how deep I am. Okay, I'm about halfway through. I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to start shaping on this top, because I don't want to go too deep. Then when I do my top, I end up going through. All right, so I'm going to start shaping on the outside of this just a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll start putting the recess in. All right, so let me see. Here's a spindle gouge. That's screwed up. Alright, I'm just going to start rolling this edge over. I think I got a catch in there at one point. Okay, I'm alright. Let's see what we got. Okay. Alright, I think we're okay. I think we're good now. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut my recess in here. And I'll just do that with my spindle, I'll try to start that with my parting tool. and we'll see how that goes. Lower my tool rest down just a touch. Alright. See how this goes. I'm not going to go out quite as far as what that shows. Slight little pour cut here, make that a little bit smaller. I just wanted to receive the pinning, and that's all. Alright, clean it up. Scraper and clean it up. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Okay, tenon recess is good and square. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sand this up and go ahead and put finish on the inside here, and that way I'll be done with that. Okay, I'll come back later after I do the box. I'll mount this on the box and use the box as a friction drive to turn this thing down and get the lid shaped the way I want it. Alright, so I need okay, I'm just removing some waste from the back side of the lid a little bit, because I'm going to sand and finish this part. This part right here, I'm going to go ahead and sand and finish it before I move on. That'll just make it easier once I get it turned around to, it'll make it a lot less wood that I have to remove out away from center. So that'll just make turning it a little bit easier later on. So anyway, I'm going to sand this up and go ahead and finish it. I'm going to use a little friction polish on the inside here and just right up this outside. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to sand about 400 grit. And I'll be back once I get that finished. Okay, well, got the lid done. Well, the bottom part of the lid anyway. Right there's not done. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and measure the inside diameter of this thing here. And it looks like it's almost 2 7/8. Okay, so I'm going to lock that down there. But now what I'll do is I'll use my parting tool and I'll go ahead and come down in there down to this diameter, and hopefully I won't go too far, which I may. I'm going to do is just going to be a trial. It's just going to be a trial and error type deal, and until I get a good tight fit on my lid. Okay, so that's not working right there. I'm going to try to keep the tailstock up as much as I can. Okay. Alright, my tenon fits really well now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start working the diameter down on the box to kind of match the lid here. So I'm going to start that right now. I'm going to go ahead and work on the lid a little bit more while I got the tailstock up here. I'm just going to kind of dome shape it. Start cutting my tenon off as I go. Still got a little bit right here, but what I'm doing is I'm putting like a little ogee curve on this, and I'll put a little finial on the top. Anyway, I've got to put a half-inch mortise in here, so I'm fixing to bore the hole. Got to be very careful because I've actually hollowed out way up in here, and I've got that little brad point on the tip of my Forstner bit, so I'm not going deep. I'm going to go about half the depth of this head right here, and I'm going to call that good, and then I'm going to glue in my finial blank on here, and then we'll turn the finial from there. Alright, here we go. Okay, I didn't go through. Good shape. I'm in good shape. So now, all I need to do is get me a, I'm going to face this off and make that, you know, fairly flat. And then I'm gonna pick me a finial blank. I don't know what I'm gonna use yet. I thought I may use mahogany, but a dark wood may not contrast the way I want. I may use maple or something really blonde. All right. Well, we'll see what I come up with when I come back. All right. Well, I've got a friend at work, and he brought me this wood. It's about an 8/4 slab, maybe about 10 inches wide, and he calls it African tiger wood. Anyway, I like the way it looks. They use it for countertops and things like that. It's real heavy also, just like the Brazilian cherry. But I'm gonna turn this down into a cylinder. I'm gonna put a 1/2 inch tenon on the end, and this is what I'm gonna use for my finial. So anyway, we're gonna get started on that. Let me get my roughing gouge out. Maybe that'll be pretty good. Give me a 1/2 inch tenon, set my veneer caliper. For a 1/2 inch, just barely, slightly oversized, just barely. That ought to fit. Okay, it may be just a little bit too tight, but maybe that'll fit. Let's see what we got here. Perfect. All right, it's a little bit long, so I need to trim it off a little. But that worked great. Just slightly oversized with the veneer calipers. I mean, the marks still were almost lined up. So that's very good right there. But I'm gonna trim this off. That's not much more than an 1/8 inch tall. So. Better undercut this first. Nice little undercut. Let me check my measurement here, see how wide that thing's got to be. I'm just checking my diameter right here where I faced it off. I'm at 1 1/4 inches. So, let me check this. Most useful tool in the shop is veneer calipers. Alright, so I need to size this down just a touch. Okay, there's the, alright, that should be my width. What I'm going to use anyway. Alright, well, see if I can't size this thing down. has to be undercut or you'll have a gap. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and rough this down a little bit. I'm just using my bowl gouge. Alright, let's see how that fits now. Let's see here. Oh yeah, good tight fit right there at the top. Perfect. I'm just going to glue that down and I'm going to let it sit until tomorrow. I'll be back a little bit later on. Okay, well, this is what I've got. I've got my box, I've got my lid, I've got my finial. I got my finial glued on, and I'm just going to have to wait until it sets up and cures before I can move on. But anyway, I'll be back probably in just a little while. I'm going to let that cure up some, and I'm going to get back to work.